What happened on the night of March 31st, 2026 wasn't just another airstrike, it was a message buried under more than 40 tons of bunker-busting bombs, dropped with surgical precision on one of the most heavily fortified military-industrial complexes on Earth. And this time, they didn't just hit the entrances, they went for the heart, because hidden beneath the mountains of Isfahan wasn't just infrastructure. It was time that Iran had been buying for years, building, reinforcing, expanding, a vast underground network designed to survive exactly this kind of attack. And yet, in a matter of minutes, it started to collapse from within. The primary targets were not random, they were calculated. An estimated 540 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60% purity, just one step away from weapons grade. Enough, according to multiple analysts, to produce at least 10 to 11 nuclear warheads, if further enriched. And more importantly, the missile production lines capable of turning that material into deliverable weapons, because uranium alone doesn't change the balance of power. Delivery systems do. Isfahan is not just Iran's third largest city, it's the industrial brain of the regime's nuclear and missile program. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the site is not a single facility, it's an ecosystem. A uranium conversion plant that transforms yellowcake into uranium hexafluoride, fuel fabrication facilities, centrifuge production lines, metal processing units, and one of the largest missile assembly complexes in the country, all interconnected, all partially buried, all designed to survive. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because beneath this already complex network lies something deeper, literally. According to an analysis by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, by March 2026, Iran had likely transferred its most sensitive nuclear stockpile into these underground tunnels. Satellite imagery from Airbus Pleiades Neo, dated June 9, 2025, showed something unusual: a truck entering the southern tunnel entrance, carrying 18 blue containers. Experts believe these may have contained highly enriched uranium hexafluoride. And here's the key detail. As of March 2026, the International Atomic Energy Agency had still not been able to inspect the site, meaning no one truly knew what was inside. Iran presented these tunnels as impenetrable. Three massive entrances, carved into a mountain rising 1,700 meters high, reinforced with over 1.8 meters of hardened concrete, protected by layered air defense systems, including the Bavar 373 and Russian-made S-300, a fortress beneath a fortress, a place where the regime believed its most critical assets were untouchable. But at 0010, that illusion broke. The operation began not with bombs, but with blindness. US and Israeli forces first neutralized radar systems around Isfahan. Electronic warfare, suppression of enemy air defenses. The city's defensive network went dark, and in that moment of silence, the bombers moved in. Stealth platforms like the B-2 Spirit led the strike, supported by F-15E Strike Eagle and B-1B Lancer. Their payload, not standard munitions, but 2,000-pound class bunker busters, primarily GBU-31 JDAMs equipped with BLU-109 penetrator warheads, weapons designed not to explode on impact, but to dig first and detonate later. Estimates from satellite imagery by Maxar Technologies and Planet Labs suggest that between 40 and 50 of these bombs were used. That's roughly 36 to 41 tons of pure penetrating firepower, dropped in a coordinated sequence. And then, physics took over. Each bomb pierced through reinforced concrete, through layers of rock, before detonating deep inside the tunnel system. And here's where the real destruction happened, because in a confined underground environment, shockwaves don't dissipate, they amplify. The tunnels became pressure chambers. The explosions triggered secondary detonations, fuel depots, missile warheads, rocket propellants, all igniting in a cascading chain reaction. What followed wasn't just an explosion, it was an internal collapse. The mountain itself seemed to erupt from within. Massive structural failures, firestorms, dense black smoke columns rising from multiple points. The entire underground network turned into a multiplier of destruction. Surface images later revealed large impact craters, scorched terrain, and collapsed sections of infrastructure around Mount Sofei. Facilities tied to uranium processing, fuel fabrication, and missile assembly were either heavily damaged or completely destroyed. Shortly after the strike, Donald Trump made a striking statement. We no longer have to worry. We now face a country that won't be launching a nuclear weapon at us. A bold claim, but one that reveals the intent behind the operation. This wasn't symbolic, it was strategic decapitation. And yet, here's where the story takes a turn most people don't expect. Despite the overwhelming success of the strike, Iran is still dangerous, because while its conventional capabilities have taken severe damage, its asymmetric power remains intact, and in some ways, more relevant than ever. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has adapted. Unable to match US firepower in open confrontation, it has shifted toward disruption, harassment, economic warfare, attacks on oil tankers, naval mines placed along shipping routes, drone strikes targeting commercial vessels. The objective is clear: turn the Strait of Hormuz into a zone of constant uncertainty. And here's why that matters more than the strike itself. Because the strait is not just a waterway, it's the artery of the global energy system. Roughly 20% of the world's oil supply passes through it daily, and it doesn't need to be fully blocked. To cause chaos, even limited disruptions have consequences. Insurance premiums skyrocket. Shipping companies reroute vessels around Africa, adding weeks to delivery times. Costs surge, energy prices rise, and that pressure spreads globally. Inflation increases, transport costs climb, food prices follow. What starts as a regional conflict becomes a global economic shock. And here's the most dangerous part. Iran knows this. The regime appears willing to absorb internal damage, as long as it can maintain pressure on global markets. It's a strategy of leverage, pain in exchange for influence, but so far, that calculation hasn't forced the outcome Tehran expected. Instead, it has created a deadlock. The United States has demonstrated it can strike deep inside Iran with near impunity, destroy hardened underground facilities, neutralize air defenses, project power at will. But reopening the strait, that's a different kind of problem, because clearing naval mines, tracking mobile drone launch sites across hundreds of kilometers of coastline, and countering fast attack boats is far more complex than dropping bombs. It requires persistence, presence, and risk. Meanwhile, inside Iran, the pressure is building. Energy shortages, fuel scarcity, rising food prices, public frustration. The regime has tightened control over information and movement, not necessarily out of fear of more strikes, but fear of losing control internally. Which leads to the real question: how long can this continue? For Washington, the dilemma is clear: maintain pressure and wait, but risk a prolonged disruption that could trigger a global recession. For Tehran, continue escalation and risk internal collapse, or de-escalate without appearing to surrender. So far, neither side is backing down. What we are witnessing is not just a military confrontation, it's a test of endurance, of economic resilience, of political will. And the outcome won't just shape the Middle East, it will determine the stability of global energy markets and the balance of power for years to come. Because sometimes the most important battles aren't about territory, they're about control over the systems that keep the world running.